The second week of the college football season is in the books, and we've had a few players emerge in the Heisman race. We've already had a handful of players fall out of the race as well. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the 10 players I have in my way too early Heisman top 10 after only week 2. Before we get to today's video, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are that you love college football. And odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel, so make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. I'll be posting college football videos every day during the season, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. We'll kick off today's top 10 with Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker. Tennessee is 2-0 on the young season and is ranked number 15 in the country. Don't look now, but the Vols might be making a run in the SEC. He's thrown for 500 yards to begin the season with 3 passing touchdowns and no interceptions. He's also added 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. After a quiet opening week, Hooker was excellent this past week on the road in their victory over number 17 Pittsburgh. He threw for 325 yards with 2 passing touchdowns, his last one being the game-winning touchdown in overtime. His numbers aren't there just yet, but he'll start lighting up the stat sheet soon, and Tennessee is going to continue to win games. Up next at number 9 is Oklahoma State quarterback Spencer Sanders. He's had a solid start to his 2022 campaign, as the Cowboys are 2-0 and are number 8 in the polls. Through 2 games, he's thrown for 700 yards with 6 passing touchdowns, while adding 100 yards on the ground with 3 rushing touchdowns. Those numbers are largely due to his incredible showing in week 1 against Central Michigan. This past weekend against Arizona State, he was solid, throwing for 270 yards with 2 passing touchdowns, while adding 50 yards on the ground with a rushing score. It's only been 2 games, but Sanders is on pace to have by far the best season of his Oklahoma State career. His numbers through the air and on the ground should certainly help his case. Plus, if Oklahoma State keeps winning and climbing in the polls, Sanders will have a legitimate shot at winning the Heisman. After missing nearly the entire 2021 season, Minnesota running back Mohamed Ibrahim is back and better than ever this year. Through 2 games, he's rushed for 260 yards while averaging 6 yards a carry. He's also rushed in 4 touchdowns as well. If you look at his last 10 games going back to 2020, he's rushed for 1,500 yards with 21 rushing touchdowns. Again, that's over only a 10-game stretch. He has rushed for 130 yards in both games this season with 2 rushing touchdowns in each game. I know he's a forgotten about name after missing all of 2021, but when he's healthy, Mohamed Ibrahim is one of the best running backs in the entire nation. Minnesota is also undefeated and on the verge of being ranked inside the top 25, so if the Gophers keep winning, he'll continue to climb. Will Rogers has gotten off to an extremely hot start this season for Mississippi State. After he threw for 4,800 yards with 36 touchdowns last season, he hasn't skipped a beat in 2022. Through the first 2 games, he's completing nearly 80% of his passes. Rogers has thrown for just under 800 yards with 9 passing touchdowns. If he were to keep up this pace for a full season, he'll finish the year with just under 5,000 passing yards and more than 50 passing touchdowns. That's pretty good if you ask me. This past weekend on the road at Arizona, Rogers threw for over 300 yards with 4 passing touchdowns. He completed 39 of his 49 passing attempts. This was fresh off a game in which he threw for 450 yards with 5 passing touchdowns. If anyone out there plays college fantasy football, I highly recommend picking Rogers up. North Carolina continues to win, and Drake May continues to put up great numbers. The Tar Heels are 3-0 on the season, and May has some of the best numbers in the entire country. He's completing 75% of his passes and has thrown for 900 yards with 11 passing touchdowns to go with only 1 interception. He's also added 150 yards on the ground with a rushing score. He does have an extra game under his belt, but he's first in the country in passing yards, first in passing touchdowns, number 2 in passing completions, and number 7 in passing efficiency. This weekend on the road at Georgia State, he completed 19 to 24 passes for just under 300 yards. He had 2 passing touchdowns, but he threw his first interception of the year. I'm not sure how much longer North Carolina is going to win games and how much longer May is going to be putting up these great numbers, but until he stops, he'll continue to be in these top 10s. KJ Jefferson is up next, as he's provided most of the offense for Arkansas through the first 2 weeks. They're undefeated and ranked number 10 in the country. Through the air, he's completing 77% of his passes and has thrown for 400 yards with 4 passing touchdowns and no interceptions. On the ground, Jefferson has rushed for 130 yards with 2 scores. This past weekend against South Carolina, he finished the game with only 3 incompletions. He had just under 250 yards with 2 total touchdowns. I know his numbers aren't as flashy as some other quarterbacks, but he truly does it all for the Razorbacks. He puts the team on his back, and they wouldn't be a top 10 team in the nation without him at the helm. Staying inside my top 5 this week is Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett. He's been nearly perfect for the Bulldogs through 2 games. He's completing 75% of his passes with 700 yards with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. He's also added 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. After an incredible showing in week 1, Bennett had a fairly quiet but effective week 2 against Samford. He threw for 300 yards with a passing touchdown while running in a touchdown as well. I'm not sure how his numbers are going to look over the course of the season, as I'm sure Georgia is going to continue to blow out their competition, so his numbers are likely going to take a hit. But if they go undefeated and his numbers are pretty solid, maybe the mailman will be adding some hardware to his route. My top 3 looks how I feel it's going to look the remainder of the season. This week, I have Stroud coming in at number 3. He had a disappointing showing in week 1 against Notre Dame, but bounced back nicely last week. On the season, he's completing a very nice 69% of his passes with 600 passing yards and 6 passing touchdowns. This week against Arkansas State, he threw for 350 yards with 4 touchdowns on only 16 completions. I know it was only a group of 5 opponent, but it was a great game to get his season back on track after that underwhelming performance in week 1. I said last week that Stroud is likely going to have incredible performances every game to close out the season. At this rate though, it's going to be tough to overtake the 2 guys in front of him, so he'll have to really start lighting up the stat sheet in order to make up some ground. I have Bryce Young slipping down to number 2. Although he won the game for Alabama this weekend against Texas, they nearly lost the game, which would have really hurt his chances this early on in the season. He's put up great numbers so far, throwing for 400 yards with 6 touchdowns and no interceptions, but that's largely due to his incredible week 1 showing. Last week against the Longhorns, he threw for 200 yards with a passing touchdown, but it overall wasn't a great game, especially through the first 3 quarters. But he did guide Alabama to the victory in that 4th quarter and had a game-winning drive, so it was still a gutsy performance from him. Moving into the number 1 spot though is USC quarterback Caleb Williams. He's been better than advertised through 2 games with the Trojans. So far in the young season, Williams is completing 80% of his passes for 600 yards with 6 passing touchdowns. This weekend on the road at Stanford, he threw for 340 yards with 4 passing touchdowns. It was just the 3rd time in his career that he's thrown at least 4 passing touchdowns in a game, and his 340 passing yards are the 2nd most he's had in a game in his career. This USC offense looks pretty unstoppable to begin the season. With Caleb Williams leading the way, he has a chance to be yet another USC quarterback that takes home the Heisman Trophy. Well, those are my 10 players I currently have in the Heisman race. Was there a player that I had ranked too high or ranked too low, or was there a player that I didn't mention that should have been inside this list? Whoever you think it is, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you love college football, this is definitely the place for you. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm posting videos every day during the season, so make sure to subscribe if you call yourself a college football fan. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you all in my next video.